I am Jordan Moore alongside the All-American Sean Cody, our quarterback Max Brown, and the head coach Lincoln Riley joins us right away. USC's head coach interview is presented by I Trust Capital. Retire with crypto. Coach, as always, thank you for joining us, and congratulations to another win, 3-0 now. And I want to start on the defensive side of the ball because all the talk last week was about this talented Fresno State offense. You hold them to 17 points. What really worked on that side of the football for you?
We were very opportunistic. We played good red zone defense, which has been a strength of us 3 games in. We got the really 2 turnovers and really 4 turnovers when you consider the 2 fourth down stops. I mean, those are turnovers as well. So to turn the ball over 4 times obviously was huge. The 5 sacks definitely stood out. Being able to get pressure, we knew with the quality of quarterback, the quality of passing game they had, that pressure was certainly going to be a key. So those are certainly the highlights. We weren't excited about how we defended the run, and it was very similar to the week before in terms of, we're not getting beat physically much. We're not like, guy one-on-one in a hole and we miss a tackle and it goes for 30 yards. That really hasn't been our issue. We had a couple of misalignments. We had a couple of guys in the wrong gaps, and again, sound like a broken record, but when you do that, good people make you pay. And it's funny. Two of the runs that came out at a different time in the game, we had the exact same defensive call against the exact same run. Nobody does anything superhuman. We just don't go to the wrong gap, basically, in layman's terms, and they're no gainers. And so we've obviously got to do better. We got to get it corrected because we are doing a lot of great things on defense, but there's been too many explosive plays in the run game that we've got to clean up.
Yeah, Coach, one of the great things you're doing on defense, maybe one of the players that's doing it is number 51. He's really popping off the screen, and the guy going into the year you didn't know really kind of where he fit, and maybe I thought with the biggest play of the game, possibly with the sack caused fumble on Hainer, and obviously got hurt. You don't want to see that, but a big play. What does it mean when a guy like that, who starts maybe at a backup position and third string, climbs his way up to a starter, up to a position player? What kind of message can you sell your team after that? Like, hey, look, guys, it's proof is in the pudding. If you put it in, you're gonna get in.
It's a great message. It's one, we're fortunate that we were able to get Solomon here. Obviously thankful that happened now. And I think there's so many guys in a college football locker room right now that are in that same position or something like it that he was, right? Because for every guy you see out there making plays, there's going to be 2 or 3 others at every single position that they want to be the ones out there, and that's just the nature of the business. We don't, we're not rolling in with 50 guys to play a game. You have big rosters, you have a lot of people, that want to play, and so. For everybody, it's an inspiration. It's a message to keep going because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come. And Solomon was ready when his showed up, and then he's really just taken it and he's ran with it, and he's created more and more opportunities for himself. And it can happen that quick, right? There's just so many guys that maybe the first of the season doesn't go their way, and then all of a sudden, bam! Like I think I shared this before, but. We showed the team and watching them win yesterday, make a few plays, made me think of, but like Marquise Brown, his first year for us, didn't hardly play in the first 6 games. And then in the last 7 games of the year, he had over 1,000 yards receiving and just changed his life. I mean, literally. I mean, changed his life. And first 6 games, he was a backup. And I think 2 or 3 of the first 6, he didn't play one snap, not one snap. And ended up over 1,000 yards in the season. Man. So you never know when it can go, and so you got to keep working.
When those scenarios happen, especially in year one, when almost all these guys are brand new to you, and especially the new age of college football, I think we always talk about roster management and whatnot. Do you have to make it more of a point to check in with guys and have those meetings and make sure that, hey, even if you aren't getting the snaps that maybe you thought or they expected or whatever, that you're checking in with guys throughout the year?
Yeah, we try to be very transparent with them. If they're getting reps, we tell them why. If they're not getting reps or they're getting this percentage of reps, whether it's in practice, in games, we want to be transparent with our guys. Like, we want them to know exactly like where they stand, and that's very important. And then absolutely, you've got to continue developing your roster for so many reasons. And I do think you see places, or if you have a place where a bunch of guys are transferring out, sometimes maybe there hasn't been as much transparency. And I just think if guys are on the same page, doesn't mean you're going to keep every player. Like, we understand those days are over. But if guys know where they stand and they're getting a fair shot, and then they can look in front of them, and even if I'm not the one playing, but I can look in front and say, all right, I've seen examples of guys in this program do it. And then I see the guys that are in front of me, they're getting a lot of chances to make plays on any of the sides of the ball. They're doing extremely well. So if I can step up and go win in one of those jobs, I can help this team, and I could have a lot of really cool opportunities myself. So it gives them something to shoot for. And so, yeah, we're trying to develop every single person that we have.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. And, Coach, one player that you inherited is Tuli Tuipulu. He's been really productive the last 2 weeks. I know he's just a guy that's impressed you since you started working with him. What stands out to you about Tuli, the player and the person?
Consistency. You know, he's one of our best, most consistent competitors. I don't think he's missed one rep in spring practice and not one in fall camp, and it shows up. The guy's been ready to play. He's done a good job playing both inside and on the edge for us, and I think we've done a good job moving him around to take advantage of his skill sets and based on matchups that week or where we feel we can best utilize him and create some advantages for us. But now he's a tough player. He's a consistent player. You appreciate the physicality and effort that he plays the game with, and he can still – he's had some really bright moments in the first 3 weeks, but he can play better, and we're excited about that, and he is too.
Coach, as a former defender, I always, when you're going against an offense, you always think, okay, what's this team kind of do good? Is it, they want to wing it out there? They're going to run the ball. They're going to play good defense. And in these first 3 games, you guys showed you can win in kind of different ways, right? You won in pass-heavy attack. You last week with a big run attack. How important is it for you to distinguish that to the guys? Hey, we can win in a multitude of fashions. It's not just, hey, Caleb Williams is going to get the ball and lead us down the field. We can run the ball at teams. Hey, defense, let's win it defensively. Let's win it this kind of way. So is it that message that you preach to them, like, hey, let's do it in multiple facets?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's just education, right? You got to teach them, like, what does winning look like? And you said it, winning rarely looks the same. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to win and be consistent, put yourself in all these different scenarios, and are you prepared and are we prepared to go be successful in that and name the scenario, right? I mean, bad weather, great weather, way up, way down, a lot of drives, a lot of, big plays on both sides, or you get into a slower, right, more possession game, grinding out type game. I mean, you're going to get thrown so many challenges. The great teams know how to win different ways and find ways to do that. So, it's certainly been something we've talked about. We tried to develop it with what we've put our guys through, not only from a football scheme and situation standpoint, but also just mentally and developing them, because a lot of it at the end of the day comes down to toughness. A lot of it comes down to how bad do you want to win, how poised can you be. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because then no matter what the situation is, you have a response ready, and you're not, oh, this situation comes up and now we're searching for it, right? We got to go create something on the fly, or they're not going to be some magic speech or some magic play at that moment. It's going to go back on your training. And if you're trained to handle every situation, you know what to do when they come up, and then it's a matter of doing it.
I know after spring ball you were pleased with where the offensive line was at. I think we checked in with you after fall camp, similar deal. Now you have 3 games under your belt with that unit. It's easy to give all the skill guys the headlines and whatnot, but the offensive line looks like it's playing well. What do you see from that group?
Yeah, getting better. We had we definitely took some steps forward in the run game. It was the best. This game against Fresno was the best we have played in the run game up to this point. We had a couple of holes in pass protection that we need to do a little bit better, and some of it was us hanging onto the ball a little bit too long a few times too. I mean, pass protection is everybody's involved in that. I mean, receivers being on time, quarterback being where he's supposed to be, obviously the backs, obviously the linemen. So, but yeah, I think we're taking steps. I think we've made some good progress. We know we're going to continue to see some different challenges up front as we go forward. Certainly starting this week with Oregon State. So. They need to play really well. We're playing good. We can play better.
One of the things the COVID year did is it allowed a lot of players to take advantage, and some of these teams have gotten older. You're coaching some older guys. It's fun for us. Like, we enjoy talking to Travis Dye and Justin Deed. Some of these guys have just been around for a while. What's it like for you? Because you always think about a college coach. He's got to handle 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds. Now you're handling, 22, 23-year-old guys. A couple of them married already. I mean, it's got to be a different experience.
Yeah, that part has been cool. It has. It's and what's really cool about it is seeing kind of the dynamic, right? Like where you've got, Travis Dye talking to a young freshman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And bringing some of that knowledge of, I've been there for a little while and I've seen kind of a lot of what you've seen, and being able to kind of help and guide them and lead the team. It's that experience has been great. And no, that has certainly been one of the kind of silver linings of COVID, is the opportunities it's given some of these guys to get an extra year of college. And we're fortunate we have several that are taking advantage of it.
Coach, what's the dialogue? We've seen Caleb Williams now play a couple weeks, and you don't think he's a sophomore, right? You come out, you're watching him, and you're like, this guy can't be a sophomore. And I think people expect that performance sometimes. And I thought in the game he came out a little slow, maybe not as sharp, maybe didn't make some reads. What's that dialogue with him as it's going along, as a young player still trying to figure his game?
I would say business is normal. I mean, it's. I think he's starting to see and understand things, very, very well. Oh. And I think showing some maturity that, not every game and every drive is going to go off exactly like you planned it or clip it off to be. And especially as you play good opponents, they're going to put you out of your comfort zone more, and they're going to throw change-ups at you, and you just got to be ready to adjust. And I thought he showed a lot of poise. I mean, I don't remember any point in the game where I was concerned about where he was at, anything like that. So it was a couple plays didn't go our way, and so we kind of done it. I mean, he and I have had the luxury of we've done that together a little bit already. Mm-hmm. Whereas maybe for the our fans and people watching SC football, they've seen a couple pretty clean performances, and so a little different. He's been in a little bit of adversity, and I thought that showed because he rattled through it pretty quickly.
All right, we've got the head coach here, Lincoln Riley, Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, and Max Brown. We've got a big game coming up. This is one I had circled before the season started. Had a lot of expectations for Oregon State. So far, they've certainly lived up to them. I think they've gotten even better offensively. Last year, the passing game was a question for them. They could run it well, but what are you seeing on film? It seems like a pretty dynamic offense.
It is. They present a lot of challenges. They have a lot of unique personnel groupings. They're very, very multiple out of it. They do a good job complementing the run game with the pass game and vice versa. They've got a very good offensive line. Quarterbacks playing well. They got some real explosive skill guys on the outside. Tight ends are good players. I mean, it's a good group. I mean, they challenge you in some different ways, and they kind of you could tell they've got a system of core beliefs that they believe in, and if they do a really nice job running it.
Yeah, it seemed like last year Chance Nolan was kind of a game manager, and this year they're kind of taking the cuffs off a little bit, let him play a little bit. What do you see when you see a quarterback like him, like Chance Nolan?
Yeah, he's improved. I think you said it right. You could tell a little bit of a difference from the previous year to now. He's you could tell a little bit more in control, and totally agree. They're giving him a little bit more freedom, doing a little bit more with him. But he looks confident. He looks like he knows where they want to go with the football. He's athletic enough to make a few things happen back there, and he does a good job. When there's multiple of them and some of the shifts and motions and different formations and all the different things, he does a good job just running the offense. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like the guy's just sitting back there in the gun, dropping back every single snap. Yep. He's got a lot of different things going on to manage, and he does a really nice job of it.
My gut tells me that a lot of coordinators are studying you and what you do, but the flip side, in the season, are you studying other coordinators? And the reason where that's coming from is Brian Lindgren, Oregon State's offensive coordinator, respected guy. Jonathan Smith, well-respected out west, creative offensively, obviously a little different styles. But are there guys that you have your eye on? And do you cross paths with the West Coast offensive coordinators before you got here at all?
A few guys here and there. I watch probably more people in the off season. I'll occasionally, if I've got a little bit of time, throw somebody else up or see another game, or if we've got an early game, you get a chance maybe get home that evening and watch somebody, which don't sound like we have an early game for a while. So
night games,
yeah, exactly. It's all good. So yeah, a little bit more reserved in the off season. At this point, like we kind of know who we are and what we want to be and how we want to evolve. We're not a group that's just kind of a play of the week group. That's just not. Sometimes I've been down that rabbit hole a little bit before, but sometimes you end up becoming an offense that's got a bunch of individual plays instead of an actual system. And so there's some reasonings behind why we do things, and not just because we think it's a good play. And so A little bit here and there, but not. Yeah, Jonathan, obviously, I've known him for a little while, followed him. Great offensive mind, as is Brian. So it'll be a good challenge.
We do play a lot of night games. One this week, they announced the Arizona State game, the next home game, 7:30. We had a great atmosphere at night, but particularly on the road. What do you try to do during the day on Saturday to keep those guys from sort of getting stale as they sit around and wait? And I'm sure you're antsy to kick it off.
Meetings. You have lots of meetings. I know, Coach. That's what coaches do. They meet. They have to meet a lot of times.
It's we keep it very similar to home. We really don't do, other than hopping on a plane, we really don't do anything different than we do at home. We've got some meetings. We also have some relaxed time for them. I mean, at some point you got to relax a little bit and sleep and get away from it and laugh and joke a little bit. I mean, there's a fine line, but there's a mixture both for us. So yeah, we've got one that we believe in. This last week was really our first chance to do it with the later game. So really, our guys will know the routine pretty well when we get up north.
Little 3-0 start here. You start getting some of those victory Sundays. Guys start feeling good about themselves. Little complacency can start seeping in. How do you manage those guys' expectation? Hey, we're Monday. We're grinding back at it, guys. Let's go. Put it back on. It's time to work.
No, we did today.
Oh,
yeah, we did today. That's nobody came here just to win the first 3 games. So we got a long ways to go, man. This is there's a ton to get excited about, but there's a long way to go and a lot of work to do. And the biggest challenges for us as a team, and not talking about the particular opponent, but the biggest challenges are continue to improve, and the biggest challenges are ahead for us. And I hope we understand it. I feel like we will, but this is what you do it for. I mean, it's a tremendous start. You can't, for your record-wise, you can't start any better. Playing-wise, we can play a lot better, and we're going to need to.
Going back to last week real quick, we saw Caleb Williams' legs show out a little bit more. Coincidentally, we got Jalen Hurts on the TV screen in the background, and then off air we were talking about Kyler Murray. Baker's out there as well. All guys you've had exposure to of different levels of quarterback mobility. How different where does Caleb fall on that? How much quarterback run game is in the playbook on a given week? Is it a flavor of the week type of thing? What's the mindset there with 13 behind center?
Yeah, we're not trying to sit there and run our guy 20 times a game. I mean, that's not really who we are. Now, when we have had an athletic guy, we're also, we understand that it can be a nice advantage in the game. So I think there's a fine line. Some of it is matchup. Some of it is, how you feel about the rest of the offense and kind of how it fits with that. How do you want to attack people? But at the end of the day, we want our guys to run enough to be effective, but we want our backs and our receivers carrying the ball the majority of the time. Occasionally it's going to play out like that. You get a couple scrambles, a couple design runs, maybe a zone read where a guy squeezes down and you end up pulling the ball. I mean, there's going to be a few here and there, but we want to be smart with it. We've had a really good record, knock on wood, of our starters being able to stay healthy, and I think that's been key, as being pretty smart and reasonable. Jalen honestly was a different cat there. I mean, we ran Jalen a lot, but Jalen's built like an NFL tight end. I mean, his ability to carry the ball like he did, it kind of amazed me throughout that year, and I finally figured out, the guy's just not going to get hurt. He just is unbelievable, but there's not many like him.
Yeah, we saw him in his debut game. Gave us a hard time as a true freshman, if I recall. Max,
you saw him? I saw him.
You were in that game, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
It was a tough day, but not for Jalen. That was a pretty good debut for him, and he's still out there balling out here on Monday Night Football. Maybe a future for Caleb Williams, too, that's for sure. We have an exciting game coming up on Saturday. Can't wait, man. USC, Oregon State, 2 undefeated teams, top of the Pac-12.